Now, Mattia Ivaldi, University of Turin. He was the president of the European Association of Physics Students, and he's in connection also with the Italian branch of this association. And the contacts with SISFA started as with the request of a sponsorship in money. And this gave occasion to talk about, and this initiative we judged it quite interesting because it was from the bottom. It was a need of students to put physics in the historical context. And so they organized a workshop with historians and physicists, and so he will tell us the results of this workshop. Thank you.
Yes, in this case we already received the money, so thank you. First of all I want to thank Professor Fregonese and SISFA and of course the organizers for giving us this great opportunity to be here. I'm going to talk to you about HYPE, as Professor said. HYPE, the acronym for History and Physics Experience with capital Y. And it's an event of history and physics organized by a set of organizations you will know in a minute. And that has been supported by SISFA, and that's why I'm here today. So this is a short outline of my presentation. I'm going to introduce you the associations that organize the event, how we imagined it and how it actually went. Then I'm going to resume what we learned from the event, and I want to conclude by giving you a very quick glimpse to the future, because we are starting to think to the second edition, so I want to give you a very quick glimpse. I want to give you, before starting, a couple of caveats so that you can have a clear idea of the goals of this talk. And first of all, I admit I'm guilty. I have the hard duty of representing the experience of both physicists and historians, but I'm a physicist. So I will try to be a balanced talk, despite I recognize I have a strong bias. This talk is not a proceeding of the event, but is a report and analysis of it, in the sense that I'm not going to present you the actual results we had, the actual conclusions we had in our scientific session, but I'm rather going to make you aware of what the students community can do within history and physics, and what we actually did in this event. And I want to underline that HYPE was an history and physics event, not just history and physics event, in the sense that our goal was to make physics and history concretely collaborate, and not only talking about the history of physics. Let me introduce the organizations who organized the event. We have the International Association of Physics Students that gathers students and societies from all over the world. Today it has around 60K plus members, coming from more than 50 countries. Its Italian National Committee is the Società Italiana della Fisica. ICE today has around 1K members and 17 local committees through Italy. And just to comment on what the professor said, and also to the toast of the first day, I was actually the president of IAPS at the time of the event, but now it's reached, and I'm the president of ICE. And then we had the International Students of History Association. That is basically the same thing, but for the students of history. And all of them are not-for-profit, non-governative associations, entirely run by students, with the goal of create a community of students and realize activities for them. And I want to stress again that every kind of activities, every single activity organized by these associations are entirely organized by students. So when we started thinking about an event with historians and physicists, we started thinking how to make them enjoy the event at the same time, because historians and physicists sometimes are different. So we came up with a sort of recipe. So the first part is take a bunch of physicists and historians with different ages, curriculum, background, close them in a 10-meter square room, spit here and there a couple of controversial sentences like history is not science, and allow to react. And it actually worked. And we organized Hype. I think the best way to start talking of the event is with its poster. So we first of all had a very important bunch of supporters, and amongst them, of course, SISFA. It took place in Bologna between the 25th and the 27th of May. We had a very stellar cast of guest speakers, and the idea was to have basically a mix of academic and social activities to provide the participants with well-rounded cultural approach to the event. I want to remark that we also doing part of the European Year of Cultural Heritage, and we are proud of this European recognition. So how we imagine it? First of all, why nuclear physics and history? That was the theme of this first edition. Well, basically, it was a good compromise for the first edition because nuclear physics, we think that it's a specific field, but still enough wide to include different topics. You can go from hadron therapy to nuclear war to the World Wide Web embedded at CERN and so on. And so when you go to the website or to the poster, you can read the goal of the event to facilitate the study and analysis of the historical role played by nuclear physics and physics in general, of course, over the past 200 years, covering the socio-political, economic, cultural changes that took place in parallel and the result of the scientific progress in this area. So this is the program of the event, where I covered the cultural and scientific part. We had an opening ceremony with 2 guest lectures. We had a workshop day with 4 different workshops divided in 2 parallel sections. Again, guest lectures. Then we had a scientific excursion to Villa Grifone, the Italian residence of Guglielmo Marconi. We had a guest lecture and then a closing ceremony. And I also included the night city tour, even though it was not scientific, but it was anyway part of the cultural program. So the speakers, I think I don't need to introduce them. We had Professor Luisa Cifaelli, who talked about Enrico Fermi and the Italian physics. Professor Luciano Maiani, who gave a talk about the creation of the standard model and the physics beyond it. We had Professor Antonio Zoccoli talking about big science. Professor Giuliano Pancaldi, the unintended consequences of physics. We had Professor Giorgio Dragoni, who talked about the history of nuclear physics. And then we had, I also included a picture of Guglielmo Marconi, because we had a visit at Villa Grifone, as I said, where the participants had a chance to visit the venue itself and get to know the history of Marconi with a couple of talks. And then we had the workshop session. I want to apologize for a bit of text here, but I just wanted to resume the content of the workshops. The participants were divided in 4 workshops accordingly to their preferences, expressed in the registration form. So we had the first one, Dr. Strangelove, basically to highlight the role that nuclear physics played in global politics and conflicts since the Second World War. Then we had all science to study the study of physical phenomena, basically between science was, let me say, formalized, for instance, by Galileo. Then we had science history education to deepen the relation between science history and how they are, for instance, taught in school. And then we had physics and modernity to understand the role that scientific research and technological innovation have in our everyday life. How it actually went? Well, first of all, we had 49 applicants. We selected 38, and then we concluded with 33 participants over 4 available places, and we had the 5 drops like in the last week before the event. So how to say, someone commented that we were killing a lot of grandmas because they used some kind of excuses, but that's not a problem. And we had an MORF ratio of 1.06, and this is the distribution of the level of studies of the participants. And we had historians of science and physics, we had physicists interested or involved in the history and the didactic of physics, and we even had pure physicists that were interested in history or philosophy of science. We had 14 different nationalities represented in HYPE, coming from actually 4 different continents. We are particularly proud of that. You can see the list of the nationalities. And, well, we in general had very positive feedbacks about the event. If you are interested in any specific survey results, I can provide them to you. We asked whether the event was balanced between history and physics, and we were satisfied discovering that the event resulted quite balanced between the 2 parts. We also asked whether the lectures were well gauged for the audience, and the answer was yes. And then we asked which kind of workshop style did the participants find more engaging, because we used 2 kind of approaches. We used, for instance, in 2 workshops, a pure roundtable approach with no talks by the participants, and we used in the other 2 workshops this style made of a discussion triggered by talk sessions, and this was the winning style, basically. We found a great interest toward the event from individuals, basically from the professors, from the people we collaborated with. They were extremely interested in the event. Nevertheless, we have been fortunately snubbed by a lot of institutions, so it's a bit sad. I think we can talk more about this point if you want to. I don't want to go in details here. The physics students, I have to say, that showed a genuine interest towards the event, but a bit of a dogmatic attitude, and I think this is most likely related on how history, for instance, is included or handled in the university courses or in the university approach. I think this is an important point for SISFA, so maybe this is a trigger for some further discussion. On the other hand, I have to say that we found that the history students showed, let me say, an approximative knowledge of physics, and I want to be really clear on that. I'm not, of course, saying that I expect that a master student in history should know the last paper on loop quantum gravity. I'm saying that, for instance, if you give a talk about the role of Enrico Fermi in society and in the scientific community, you should at least know what Enrico Fermi did in science. And this is actually quite trivial for me, but this did not happen in the event. So, what we learned from the event. HYPE was born basically as an experiment. It was an exciting idea shared by historians and physics enthusiasts. That was basically me and Anisha representative. But nevertheless, we found out that there is a true interest towards history and physics or history of physics by a small but highly motivated students community, and that's good. Also, history and physics students can defiantly interact, despite they have, of course, different methodologies and attitudes. And, of course, there is room for, let me say, more organic collaborations with some institutions SISFA, for instance, because I'm here. Then I want to give you a glimpse to the future. We also asked in our survey whether we should replicate height in the future. We got a 100% yes. And then we decided for the second edition to move the event from Bologna to Rome. There are some reasons behind this choice, basically some logistics and internal choices of the two organizations, but also because we have in local some important institutions, CNR, INFN, Centro Fermi, you know. We decided to extend the event from 3 to 4 days to include more scientific activities, more specifically more workshop time. And we need ideas, of course, for the second edition. These are some ideas we got from the survey. For instance, the climate change, the women in science, and so on. But if you have any kind of hint or suggestion, we are more than happy to receive them. And I of course, want to thank SISFA again, and I leave you with answer we got from the survey about the food. This guy expected more authentic food from 3 days in Italy, I don't know how, and he said that he expected spaghetti bolognese, of course, for being in Bologna. And this is the group picture of vibe, and this is us doing this event, so thank you.